You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
It's your boy, Evan Closky.
And we are the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your very first listen every day. Be sure to check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Locked On Rays. You can also follow us on social medias at Locked On Rays and email us anytime, lockedonrays@gmail.com. The Tampa Bay Rays lose to the St. Louis Cardinals and lose the best of three series against them. This is a team that is 15, 16 games under 500 that traded away half their pitching staff, and the Rays can't win the series at home. What gives, Evan?
It's a bad series. I mean, big picture here, right? They won 7 of their last 12. So that, the sky isn't falling in that regard. But, we're at the point again where the Rays historically have always beaten up on teams they're supposed to beat up on. And it's just not happening recently. And even when you look back at that 12-game stretch where they won 7 of 12, I believe they've only scored more than 4 runs 5 times. So they are who they are at this point. They're a team that heavily relies on the long ball. Very rarely are they able to kind of grind their way through at-bats and innings, scratching across runs. We saw it a little bit in the first game of that Cardinals series where things were getting going. That game was won thanks to a guy going 4 for 4. So it just seems like it is Yandy and Wander's job to kind of drive the bus for base hits, and then it's everybody else's supplemental job to bring them all home. Right? That's what it comes down to. I don't know why this light is terrible, by the way, but yikes.
Yeah, you're in the TV biz. What's going on here?
Smokes.
Where's your production crew?
Yeah, I think there's too many lights on right
I
now.
have a ring light that cost $8. From a yard sale in Pennsylvania.
What a
we
deal.
Get secondhand
Well,
things
of
here.
course Kevin got it at a yard sale. You know what this guy wants to pay for parking?
I just bought used Jordan golf shoes on eBay. I'm all about finding a deal,
This man is ready to buy some used up bubble gum.
Yeah. And the golf shoes don't even have soles in them. I have to supply my own soles. But by golly, I saved 50, 60% on those sneakers.
He's like, how many piece of gum? I got it for $150. 3 chews. It was only 3 chews.
It had 3 chews left. It was still juicy. Okay, back to what we came here to talk.
I don't even remember what we were talking about.
We didn't come here to talk about golf shoes from eBay.
And he's
internet.
saving money on the Wi-Fi because he just broke up completely.
That potato that you installed isn't working great, man. You might have to upgrade to another potato.
We did get the cheapest version of Wi-Fi.
Nice.
The utility bills are killing me here in Florida.
Oh my gosh. Look, what did you think about the whole Thursday evening affair where basically until the 9th inning, it seemed like the Rays were going to just put 28 men to the plate, Evan? Like that was just Liberatore just conquered the trop.
Yeah, I mean, there's a part of me that just wonders what the hell just happened. Give it up to Liberatore, obviously heavily motivated to face just the team that traded him as a highly touted prospect. He filled up the zone. I mean, for a guy who's had a little bit of command issues, he threw first pitch strikes, and the best way to beat the Rays is getting ahead of those hitters. Usually they take advantage of you when they're in advantageous counts, but Liberatore didn't allow that. The other thing with Liberatore is, despite his woes this season of being bad, I think it's fair to say he's just been really bad. He doesn't give many home runs up. Last game he gave up 2, and that was double what he gave up the entire season prior, which was about, I don't know, before that started, 40 innings, maybe 35 innings. But he's only given up 4 home runs now through 47 innings, whatever you count from this start. So playing the deep ball against Liberatore is not a winning formula. He's a guy that forces a lot of ground balls. And, the Rays got unlucky there in the first inning, peppered a bunch of hot shots, including Harold Ramirez right off the man. But, they kind of just laid down and didn't really adjust. And that was a big old problem for them. So, my overall concerns are not necessarily about Thursday against the Cardinals. It's more the continuing fact that few and far between. That doesn't mean it's never going to happen, but few and far between. They're heavily reliant on home runs, and they strike out way too often. They are a team that just loves to strike out. And when you do that and you put guys on base everywhere, when you have hitters who love to strike out, I'm not surprised when you don't bring them home.
Yeah. Here's an early trivia question for y'all. Has any Rays pitcher this season gone 8 innings strong like Matt Liberatore went tonight?
No.
I don't think so.
No way.
I was gonna think maybe Eflin, but has he just been 7 innings?
I mean, it's a rarity across baseball in general, but hey,
Eflin's touched 7. I think he might have opened the 8th once, maybe. Again, this is off the top, so people that are watching this and researching this can probably pause the
I'll
video.
look it up because Kevin's internet's not going to work fast enough.
Yeah, my internet's crap. It is what it is. Yeah. We will get
He's gone solely 7 innings this year.
Okay. We will get to the Shane McClanahan injury update. Want to hear Evan's take on all that. But real quickly, on the bottom scroll here, or it was there at one point, Wander Franco, the face of the franchise player, $182 million man. He exited the building without talking to the media. Seemed to get Mark Topkin and maybe others in a tizzy. Evan, what is your take on that he just took the old Irish exit after the game?
I'm not 100% sure. I mean, they lost. I don't know how much he expected to be the guy that spoke that evening. It's tough for me to give you an opinion without knowing how the conversation went, right? Like, I don't know if the Rays PR department was like, oh yeah, Wander's going to talk today. We pulled him aside, and then all of a sudden they went up to them like 5 minutes later, been like, sorry, he's gone. So if that happened, I'd feel pretty duped. If he just dipped out and didn't think that he'd be talked to, not that he should be doing that because he should know better by this point, but I'm not in the business to kind of overreact to that. It was just, for Topkin, who's doing a story on a game that was extremely boring and with an angle that he's working on with Liberatore, where Wander is part of that since he was a teammate of his at one point. He just wants that. He's a focal point to the story he's building for the game log, and he's got none of that. So I'm sure under deadline he's pretty ticked off.
I hear a rumor that Wander forgot to lock his $350,000 vehicle, so he had to go take care of that right after the game. So, it'd be interesting to see if he was requested and he said, "Nah, I'm not speaking," because that's an issue. But not going to dive too much more into that. We have more to discuss, but first we have to tell you about something called Sleeper. Sleeper is a fantasy sports and real money gaming app focused on bringing people together through sports and gaming. Sleeper has become the fastest organically growing fantasy platform in the world with over 5 million active users. That's according to 2022 data, by the way, so it's probably even more now in 2023. It's earned some of the highest levels of engagement per user in the industry as well. At Sleeper, it is not just about sports, it's about building personal connections and lasting memories. So you can swing for the fences on Sleeper picks, and you could win up to 100 times your money. Just use code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, and Sleeper will match your first deposit for up to $100. You can predict the hottest baseball stats like homers, hits, strikeouts, and much more to cash in on your daily fantasy baseball skills. Again, use that promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, and Sleeper will match your first deposit for up to 100 buckaroos. All right, Evan. It's been a topic and a storyline this week and really the last several weeks, I guess. But Kevin Cash acknowledged and put forth to the media that Shane McClanahan is highly unlikely to pitch again this season, and all sorts of options are on the table for getting his forearm rehabilitated, be it Tommy John surgery or removing loose bodies, something or other. Whatever it is, you're not going to be seeing old Shane in 2023 and maybe much of 2024. Your take and reaction to all of this?
I mean, it sucks, right? I mean, it completely limits your ceiling a little bit, and your margin for error is none. So let's just talk about a playoff roster now, right? Where you had Shane Glasnow, in no particular order, Shane Glasnow, Eflin, Savali, right, as your 4 starters. That's a pretty damn good postseason 4 to have.
Yes.
So now let's say all things are perfect and you have Glasnow, Eflin, Savali. That's a pretty damn good 3. But you are going to need a 4th, which means now Zach Littell, which we'd have to maybe spend a whole podcast to talk about where the hell the Rays thought of this idea. Because I don't know. Fangraphs just came out with an article, and those guys are much smarter than I am, and they pretty much said the same thing, like, we literally have no idea why they did this. Everything that you would think is conventional wisdom pointed to him being the worst candidate for this, and they figured something out. So Littell has been awesome. I mean, what did he do last night? 6 innings.
A quality start, 6-3. Yeah,
6-3. Like, if you tell me for the end of the season he's going to give you 6-3, like, sold. Like, I don't need him to be an all-star here. So, yeah. I mean, this guy has been like, what he's doing is saving this team right now. Because if you had 2 bullpen days, you'd be, yeah. I mean, or / you have to bring in Taj Bradley and just completely deal with him, which, he just had a great start last night. So we might see him soon anyway. But, it's different. And anyway, I don't know. I'll say this. I don't know how much it really caps them in the end, considering I'm more concerned about the offense anyway and have been prior to the deadline. Because this team might be able to get hot for a stretch. They did something unbelievable for 6 weeks to begin the season. If we're talking about a month worth of work in the playoffs, like, do you think that hitting is going to be able to take care of business for a full-on month against the best pitchers in Major League Baseball? Because I'm not sure. They might be able to get hot enough for a series or 2, but are they going to be able to be hot enough for a month plus? Hitting wise,
I would hope that they're hotter than they were last playoffs, where took them 19 innings to score 1 run or whatever. But
I mean, that was just
that's a very low standard, guys. Like, that should not be what they are aiming to go above.
My point is, last year they had all the pitching in the world, and it didn't matter because they didn't have the hitting. This year, the hitting's a little bit better, the pitching is a little bit worse, and the margin for error somewhere is just it is risky. So going back to the Shane McClanahan news, it really it's concerning. I mean, this world-class rotation has blown up, and it's even more concerning that you have injury-prone Tyler Glasnow, injury-prone Zach Eflin, and injury-prone Aaron Savali as your top 3 options, trying to make it another month and a half in a season.
Okay, first of all, I just want to before my cheeky segment starts, because that is coming up, I do want to say Glasnow, Savali, and Eflin can get it done. That's a good 3. That's a really good 3.
100% agree.
So we all agree that that's a good 3 that can get it done into the promised land. We all agree. Okay, cool. Now let me start the cheeky segment. Evan, can a team survive losing 1 Cy Young contender? Can a team survive that?
Depends on what team you are and what your revenue is.
Okay, so you know which one we're talking about. Can you lose 1 Cy Young contender and still make it?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you lose 2 Cy Young contenders and still make it?
Depending on certain variables, I think you can.
Okay, what about if you lose 3 Cy Young contenders? Can you still make it? It's very tough, guys. I feel like, you
Wait,
lose
so are you
Springs.
suggesting that Drew Rasmussen and Jeffrey Springs were also Cy Young contenders?
If you look at their numbers until they got down, that's exactly what they were.
I mean, we shouldn't even be bringing up Drew Rasmussen and Jeffrey Springs. I mean, they haven't been in action since, before summer started.
But their lack of existence in this rotation has been felt by not only the people that have been replacing them, but also the people that have been replacing them haven't had as good of performance, haven't had as much length, which then permeates through the bullpen, how it's used and how they're used even more. The shuttles keep going up and down.
Correct.
It's a whole thing.
And to just back up Ulises a little bit here to play that side, when Jeffrey and Drew were part of the team, they were at their best. Now go back to Wednesday's matchup against the Cardinals. If you have Jeffrey or Drew, right, you win that game because 4 runs, even dating back to last year, 4 runs, it was probably good enough for the Rays. It's not good enough anymore. 4 runs when you have Zach Littell on the mound and you got to bring in bullpen options after a bullpen day, and Cash is still trying to play the long game here. And I know it's frustrating for everyone to watch, but the Rays are very much we have to make it to October as strong as possible. Like, they want to win the AL East. That would be amazing, but they have to do it the right way. And I know that's not going to make fans happy, but in my opinion, I think the Orioles are sprinting way too early. Like, what do the Orioles want to do? Do they want to win a division or do they want to win a World Series? And I think that they're getting a little bit lost in the sauce. They're a super young team. And look at Batista and Cano. They are just, they're going to hit 80, 85 innings this year. And that's not even like, maybe they'll be able to get through this year fine, but that's going to have carryover next year.
Yeah. I think they want to win the division, quite frankly, and just kind of flip a coin in the playoffs, because playoffs can be a crapshoot as it is. And then not having any playoff experience whatsoever, I think that could hamper them to some extent. So let me be a little bit cheeky now. Evan, the Locked On Podcast Network put out power rankings for Major League Baseball, and the rankings are as such. I'll just go, 1 through 10. There it is on YouTube. Braves, Orioles, Rangers, Dodgers, Rays, Astros, Blue Jays, Phillies, Giants, Mariners. Do you agree with where the Rays are situated at number 5?
Probably. I think that's fair. I think I would move a couple of teams here or there, but I think that the Rays are a fringe top 5 team. I think that's, the Rangers are injured right now, and the Dodgers, to be honest, the Astros are probably a top 5 team to me, at least. And I think the Dodgers are quite concerning, to be honest, outside of their top 4 players in their lineup.
If Shane McClanahan was healthy, how much higher would the Rays be in this power ranking struggle?
Are we talking about Shane McClanahan? What's the quote from
It's not
Adam
like Shane
Sandler?
McClanahan has been pitching like a Cy Young for
the Adam Sandler line. We talk about Shane McClanahan now or 1964. If we're talking about pre-All-Star break Shane McClanahan, then that would be a pretty big move. But Shane, for a long time before that injury, was falling off. So it was the second straight. Last season he didn't fall off as badly as he did this season, and he had the back thing. Obviously, there might have been something else there that he was fighting through, but I don't know if that genuinely changes my opinion. The only problem is I can only evaluate what I see now, and the thing is it would be worth arguing that Zach Eflin, and I don't even know if there's like an argument against it. Like, Zach Eflin is the best pitcher on this team, from A to B. Like, from the start of the season
and consistent,
to now.
I would say. He's been the most reliable game in or start in, start out. There hasn't been as much variance.
Correct. And like, here was my thing anyway, when I'm going to say the Rays make the postseason, and let me just tell everyone out there who's emotional. All right. And Fangraph still has them at 95.6% of making the playoffs. It's not only about them losing, it's about other teams winning. They are, at last check, 6 games up on the Mariners, and the Mariners took a pretty fat heater to get up there. So they are going to need to continually win a crap ton of games when they had a faulty roster for a couple of months. Everything goes up and down. So, that my point is that I still think they're going to make the postseason. And when they do, for me, Zach Eflin is pitching in Tropicana Field, if that's possible. So I'm building a rotation. So even if Shane, like, I think someone threw out on Twitter to me, or X, are you starting Shane over Zach? And I said, it's a stupid question. I didn't say, I don't mean it like that, but it's irrelevant because I'm not pitching Zach Eflin on the road if I don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they're home for let's say to get through the wild card, and that next series, their game 1 and game 2 was home, I would have gone Glasnow, Eflin, McClanahan, and that's how I would have built it. Now there would have been an argument of, don't you want Shane to maybe go again in a possible game 7? To which I would argue, if game 7's at home, I want Eflin. So that would be me. And he's experienced and he's pitched in a World Series. Like, we got to start giving Zach Eflin, as long as he's healthy, the real kudos of what he's done. And I know he was snubbed kind of as an all-star because, there was just, I think, too many Rays on the team, to be honest. You want to spread the love, at least from a major league standpoint. But Zach Eflin has been one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball this year. And if Tyler Glasnow didn't have a higher ceiling than Eflin, I would consider him like an ace.
Before moving to baseball trivia and Name That War, obviously the Rays have had a heavy cavalcade of pitchers who have gone down with devastating injuries over the last several years. Do you think it has anything to do with how they utilize, deploy, and work these pitchers, or it is what it is? It's not natural to throw as hard as these guys throw and to throw breaking balls like these guys throw, and it's an epidemic, so to speak, across the landscape of the sport.
Yeah, John Romano of the Tampa Bay Times did an article on this, and I think he said after doing all the research that 40% of pitchers had Tommy John surgery. Like, that's insane to me. And now you're seeing, right, with Shane McClanahan, they're not 100% sure how to comment on what's going to happen forward, because I'm sure he's going to consider the internal brace option, which seems to be maybe the progression pitchers are making from Tommy John, which puts you on the shelf for maybe 13 to 14 months, to an internal brace, which I think is more like 9. So I think that's probably what's happening right now. Having said that, I think what you mentioned, I wish there was a good answer for everyone out there. There's not. I just think it's a bunch of variables all in one pot. I think it's how the Rays probably teach some of their pitches, though if you talk to any of the pitchers in the clubhouse, at least on record, they say things aren't done in any way that compromises their thoughts of health. They feel like they run in a similar fashion to other organizations, just it's more of an emphasis on getting ahead in counts and also certain pitch selections. But yeah, I think that maybe the emphasis on sliders or gripping the ball too tight, like there might be something there that is affecting the elbow. And I guarantee you, if at the end of the season, when we ask Eric Neander, are you concerned about how this is continually happening to your pitchers? I'm sure he's going to say yes, and that they're going to look at things. They're going to look at it. But I also do think it's who they get. Glasnow was always an injury-prone guy. Beeks, Rasmussen. Rasmussen had 2 TJs before coming to the Rays. Shane McClanahan had a TJ before coming to the Rays. Jeffrey Springs was off the scrap heap, though he had no injury history, I'll say that. Jalen Beeks, Colin Poche has had 2. So, he had a TJ in college. So I think it's the way that they also find talent, which I think these guys are more susceptible to injuries. Think about Andrew Kittredge. Shane Baz was going through his first TJ, which just seems to be a requirement of anyone these days, as you mentioned. So, we live in our own Rays bubble, right? We can go jump into the Dodgers bubble and talk about the injuries they're having with their pitching staff, and it's been a nightmare for them. The Mets have been really bad with that as well. That's why teams, if you have money, like to rely on, surefire bets like a Max Scherzer and a Justin Verlander, who, Verlander also had it as well late in his career. The Guardians right now literally have lost everybody, which they traded Savali because they punted the season based on their pitching injuries. And they got a young crop of kids, and I would be shocked if next year by this time one of those young crop of kids isn't on the shelf. So I think that the simple answer is yes to everything. Yeah. And it's just bad luck. And the Rays can't seem to buy one break where everybody comes together in one season at the same time. And the one time that it did happen a little bit was actually last year. And the hitting was just atrocious, right? Like, come last year's playoff time, they had McClanahan, they had Glasnow, they had Springsy, they had Rasmussen, they had everybody in tow, and it didn't matter because they couldn't hit the ball.
Yeah, and maybe it's not even a professional pitching issue or a Rays issue. Maybe it just harkens back to the way that these guys were used in their youth and little league and travel ball in high school and college before they even got to the professional ranks, and so much specialization of, all right, I'm 11 years old. I've decided I'm going to be a pitcher now for the rest of my days. I'm not going to play, football in the fall, basketball in the winter, and baseball in the spring. So maybe that could be a little bit of issues catching up over time. So
I'm very interested to see what kind of injury history Kevin Kelly has in his career. A guy who's a side armor. And I wonder if there's more of a benefit to go. Now, I'm sure that's like a shoulder issue, possibly going sidearm or underneath. But those are more natural motions. Less stress on your elbow when you're coming to the side. It's more on your shoulder. So it's just food for thought. Like, that's something that we won't know the answer to until later down the line. But, how much of those wacky sidewinders get hurt? That would be a question for me.
I don't know. I just think it's so interesting that there's all this data and resources and private coaches and nutrition and stretching, and guys are getting injured more than, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever.
My hot take, by the way, is not that the Rays actually do very well by their pitching staff, by the way. Shane McClanahan threw, I think, he was bottom 10 of qualified pitchers in pitches thrown in a game, and 13 to 21 starts, he had an extra day of rest. My hot take, with zero medical evidence, so take that for what it is that the Rays actually might be too cautious. That they're so cautious that their bodies are falling out of rhythm with the exertion that they're forcing. That they should be pushing people to consistently go every 5 days and push them to that route, or get them to consistently go every 6 days. Because I feel like when you fall out of rhythm, that's an issue. And I think that, I spoke with when I was at last point of this, when I was at in Spokane covering Gonzaga, they had a star pitcher named Eli Morgan, pitches for the Guardians now. I remember talking to him about elbow injuries, and he said something he loved to do was he worked through tire arm, right? He said the number one thing that he feels like people do is they stop. They get tired arm or fatigue, and they shut it down. And then when you try to ramp back up, your arm blows out because you're not pacing yourself. So he said the key was to continue on schedule, to really force your body to go through the bumps and the bruises and the tired aches and to keep going. And to my knowledge, Eli Morgan is still pitching without any significant injury throughout his career. You can double check me, but I do not think that, and now that's just one story. So I'm just telling you that that's something that resonated with me many moons ago. And I think there's something to it that in a world where maybe we're so fearful of the injury that we've gone way too conservative in pulling people back, that I don't know if there's any evidence that supports holding people back actually prevents injuries. I don't know if that evidence exists or we just created it to say, let's do less.
Yeah. I subscribe to this hot take 100,000% because look, if you're being this cautious and you're still getting hurt, hey, how about you save your bullpen some innings, some bullets, and do give him the 7th inning when he's at 83 pitches. Because if you're going to lose him anyway, I subscribe to this hot take 100%, Evan.
All right, let's move along here real briefly before we end the episode. The Rays do face the Guardians coming up this weekend, and I figured let's do a question related to that. And pitchers on the Guardians/Indians, their career strikeout leaders in franchise history. I have a list of 1 to 10. I want 5 of those 10 names.
Kluber, Bieber.
Hold the phone here. Kluber is correct. Justin Bieber is incorrect. You meant Shane Bieber. I'm sorry. That's incorrect as well.
All right, let me just do 2 more. CC Sabathia, Cliff Lee.
CC Sabathia is correct. Cliff Lee is incorrect. Strike 2.
Okay, Ulises,
Bob Feller.
take over.
Bob Feller is the clubhouse leader. We need 2 more. You have Feller, Kluber, and Sabathia.
Was Cologne on the Indians long enough?
Yes, that was a good one. That's a good one. I like that. I like that a lot.
Bartolo
Colon is incorrect.
Was that 3 strikes?
He does lead the league in calorie intake. For what
Was that 3 strikes?
Yes, that is. So number 1 is I got Evan on that one.
Fix that potato. Fix that potato this weekend. You have 1 homework. Use some money and get 2 potatoes because you're cutting off horribly.
Bartolo Colon ate it. What can I say?
Oh my God.
No. Oh,
Bob
no.
Feller, Sam McDowell, Corey Kluber, Cookie Carrasco, underdog there, Bob Lemon, Early Win, Sabathia, somebody named Charles Nagy, Mel Harder, and Gary Bell.
Okay, yeah, that was. I would think we just missed Cookie.
I can't believe Carrasco is that many.
Yeah, underrated guy.
So,
Underrated for sure.
Yeah.
For very quick, name
Shoot
out.
Shoot from the hip,
Exactly.
Kev. Don't think about it.
This, if you have never seen this segment, this is where we go into a baseball archive mind and we try to guess this player's career WAR. Today's player from the past is Ronnie Belliard. What is Ronnie
Lord
Belliard's career WAR according to Baseball Reference? You guys have the next 12 seconds.
11-1 sold.
7.8.
And you guys are forgetting that Ronnie Belliard was an all-star in 2004. He has 1,300 hits. He had 114 bombs. He had a slash line of 273, 338, 415, a 753 OPS, a 96 OPS plus, which means this man has a career WAR of 20.8.
Yeah, I beat Kev. I'll take that.
That's insane.
Yeah,
I would have never guessed. I would have never guessed that.
It caught me by surprise, and I was like, "Wow, what an underrated player Ronnie Belliard was."
That's
I was thinking more Cesar is Turris. numbers than what you just explained to us there.
Incredible. Good one.
20.8.
Very good one. Love that.
Wow.
Thank you.
All right, Evan, how and where can people find your wonderful work?
At Closky WTSP, 10tampabay.com. We got Bucks football. We got Lightning coming up in September. We got the Rays coming down the stretch. We got everything you need. And again, engage with me on the Twitter, on the X, Instagram at Closky. And as I said, you're respectful. I'll respond to you 99.9% of the time.
Listeners, if you have any used golf gear that you want to sell me or give me, I will be taking that.
Yes. Any coupons, please?
Any coupons for better Wi-Fi, send it to Kevin Weiss at Zephyr Hills. This man needs Wi-Fi. He's pixelated right now because he's laughing. The camera doesn't compute that he's moving, so it just goes full pixelated version. Oh, my God. Stop it.
Well, when my electric company lowers their rates, I'll be able to afford more internet. So, and my water bill decreases.
Kevin Weiss still calls collect.
Yes, that is true. Love my Boost Mobile. All right. Thank you all for listening to our podcast. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you next week.
Oh, boy.